Hi, how are you? I see
Oh,
your voice is
I'm
coming back.
yes, I'm taking my voice back.
There you go. There you go. Well, good
Yes,
night to you and to the loyal opposition. It's always
yes.
good to be here and to speak the gospel according to the loyal opposition and Barbadians all. Yeah, that was an interesting piece by Mr. Strickland. And I wondered because every now and then I would go to the NIS portal
Hmm.
just to make sure that my information is still there. I did work
Yeah.
a couple of years in Barbados, and every now and then I would see that the benefits estimator tab goes missing as it currently is. And I never understood
Mhm.
why that is. I had reached out to them via many emails and they would never respond. So I was like, the benefit estimator actually, when you put in your information, how many contributions you had, when you plan to retire, it will come back and give you an estimate of what your pension would be, or if you don't qualify for a pension, it would tell you what your one-time grant would be, right? So that tab is missing, and I never knew why. They never gave me a response, but Mr. Strickland kind of definitely explained it that they're having problems with the software that does the estimation. So therefore, that tab, which relies on that software, would not work. Um, yeah, so I that's something that I've been encouraging a lot of Barbadians who live overseas to get in contact with the NIS and get access to the NIS portal so that they can see what is there for them. So yeah, good information. I hope that Dave would see the need to pull this out, pull Mr. Strickland's comments and contributions out separate, so that those of us who can spread that word and have people listen to it, and also take it via AI and turn it into a document and PowerPoint slides for people who might better understand it that way. That would be a good thing to do. I'm not hearing you. Oh, okay.
Yes. Tonight, Adrian, our segment is a one of a discussion,
Right.
and we have like 30 minutes to talk about. I think two, or if we could get three in, we'll talk about three things. The first
Okay.
one is our former PM, Stuart, the only living former living PM, former PM who is alive,
Hmm.
is Mr. Stewart. But there seems to be a move and a belief that Mr. Stewart should not speak.
Hmm.
And that's why I said that what I shared about regaining my voice. And
Yes.
if you know Mr. Stewart and you have his number, can send him this link right now. Send him the link, please. Send him
Yes.
the link, and not just to him, but to all of the former DLP
Yes.
ministers and
Yeah.
senators. Did you work in the DLP administration? This segment is for you.
Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
send it to them. Go right ahead. Jump in. I think Dave has the article. There's an article Dave is going to bring up on the screen. Go right ahead, Mr. Hinds. Let's hear your thoughts.
All right. If I were to borrow the a couple themes from the
Oh, somebody
Deserados.
said a lady here said she love your shirt, Mr. Hinds.
Okay. It's mine. I'm not sharing. Neither am I selling it. So just letting you know. If I may borrow a couple of terms from the Desirata and how I rework it with regards to what the DLP is doing and what they should continue to do, rather than go placidly, I think the DLP should go with confidence amid the noise and haste, and remember what righteousness there is in their response to all of this naysaying. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all Barbadians, but speak your truth loudly and with clarity and with confidence to the BLP, to its influencers, to its sycophants, to its yard fowls. Speak your truth. Everything they say requires a response because theirs is more politically driven than based on truth. And if you know for sure that there is a correct story or correction that is needed, don't wait, don't be silent, come straight out and deal with it. I saw someone sent me some information about the DLP and the response that they give to some letter writer. That is what you need. But more so, and let me just pause on that and get into whether the former prime minister should be allowed to speak. I mean, come on, this is
Yeah.
Barbados, of
Can I read
course.
a little bit,
Yeah.
Adrian?
Hmm.
Let's read a little bit. It's kind of hard to read. We're trying to find if anybody has the because we do the show together, viewers. So if you have a version of this that you could WhatsApp me, that is clearer. But it says the article says, and I think this is the Nation. Former Prime Minister Freda Stewart has criticized recent decisions of the ruling Barbados Labour Party government, saying politics here was broken. During a special meeting of the St. Lucie constituency branch of the DLP on Sunday in North Stars cricket ground, Crabbill Stewart said Barbados was not in a good place and there was political, social, and economic evidence to prove it. He said the island was rushed into becoming a republic without a republican constitution. Did he lie, Adrian? Did he
No,
lie
he did.
there?
Nope, absolutely not.
He didn't
Absolutely
lie,
not. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. But they don't want him to talk.
Right.
And government seemed ashamed of the findings of the report by the Constitutional Reform Commission.
Hmm.
And the reason they're saying they're ashamed because they haven't come up with anything. He
Right.
said, I'm trying to read it. Okay. The former prime minister also cited the proposed relocation of Town Civic Center, of the Graydon Sealy Secondary School, and of the Barbados Defense Force. Stewart said he and the DLP had been closely involved with each institution and there had never been any complaints, so he did not understand why all of a sudden they had to be moved. Did you hear that, folks? Town Civic Center, right? The Barbados Defense Force, the Graydon Sealy Secondary School. Why do they have to be moved? This is why they don't want the prime minister to speak, the former prime minister. He said all of a sudden they had to be moved, but he said the proposals were not something the DLP could have gotten away with. If the DLP had taken such decisions, everyone in the Barbados National Trust would be suffering from laryngitis from all the shouting. But one of the tragedies in Barbados is, despite all the wrongdoings, there's a manicured, pedicured, dressed up, he says something silent in Barbados on critical issues. If Dave could go up a little bit. Oh, he's saying there's a manicured, pedicure, dressed up, and perfumed silence. He's very good with words. In Barbados on critical issues, he says. Stewart also spoke about crime, saying Barbados had an average 50 murders a year for the past 3 years. He said crime now seemed to be everybody's problem, but when the DLP was in power, it only seemed to be the problem of himself, the Prime Minister Stewart, and former Attorney General Adrian Brathwaite. Stewart also referred to the arrival of the Afrexim Bank and it being given land. He said the excuses given were it was like the Caribbean Development Bank, but he pointed out that the CDB was a regional project. The Afrexim Bank had no roots in the Caribbean. In all of this, I'm just saying that the level of transparency required in decisions like that was not forthcoming from the present government. We have been concerned about how power is being used in Barbados and for whose benefit. The almighty dollar is more important now than any other time in my lifetime because people are really experiencing some challenges. What we're seeing in Barbados today, said the former PM, is an accumulation of wealth on one hand to one set of people and the decay of people on the other. And that is an issue that the DLP party, as a party of people, has to confront. Stewart said it was not the role of the opposition to give government advice or answers, as its role was to protect, support, and fight for the people of Barbados. He said if the BLP did not know what to do, it should get out of the way. Did he lie? Did he lie, Adrian?
Absolutely not. He did not lie. And there is a reasoning and an approach that the Barbados Labour Party is doing with regards to Mr. Stewart. they're actually trying to pin the lie of a lost decade on him and him alone. Remember the reach out to Christopher Sinclair. Um, Everywhere you go, I've seen, the last thing I saw was at Anderson Peanuts Morris' funeral, where
Mhm.
Bobby Morris was allowed to speak, and there was an exchange of pleasantries between Bobby Morris and Mia Motley. But when Motley spoke, obviously got to speak because Maskell and his wife, who was Peanut Morris's daughter, probably invited her. She made a remark with regards to people not having I'm summarizing it. I have it actually curated and I'm going to publish it, but literally saying that when people um, lost the respect of people, this is what happens to them. And
Mhm.
throughout that entire ceremony, Mr. Stewart was there, and he was pretty much sidelined. I watched Maskell pass right next to him and didn't say a word, right? So I see this, and there are other incidents that I'm going to highlight to show that this is a deliberate attempt to single him out
Yes.
for this punishment. And I am saying that um, the his cabinet should be with him. They're still members of the Democratic Labor Party. They still fight to have a voice and a say in the party. I think that this needs to be addressed frontally. Mr. Stewart is doing it. I still remember the night of the election, he stood alone facing the media and took it. I mean, stoic,
Yes, he
with
did.
confidence, he took it. And that is the type of person you would want to lead you, regardless to what people would say. And I think that part of the process to get beyond what has been allowed to become an untruthful narrative for
Correct.
the last decade, and short need not be heard anymore, and all that nonsense, is that his cabinet should rally with him when he makes these. They should be there with him and stand up um, and recite the gospel of what the Democratic Labor Party did during the 2008 to 2018 to beat back that nonsense about a lost decade. I think we've done a good job of demonstrating that the lost decade was politically motivated. There's no truth to it. I think that we need to further that, and that every instance um, the prime minister and his cabinet gets, that they should speak to it. Because the real issue is that, like the Barbados Labour Party, the Democratic Labour Party did a lot of things in the 2008 at a macro level. I mean, they
Yes.
had proof. They had the proof of it in terms of buildings and all that, and housing and stuff like that. But that was at the macro level, and there were still
Hmm.
things happening at the micro level that people were anxious about or anxious about. And, uh,
Yes.
and and the difference between that, even though it was at the macro level, there were things that people could see, and they can still see them today. The Best Dos Santos laboratory is one instance of something that is there, that they can see, that occurred, that came into existence.
Let's
Um,
talk about that a little bit because that was as far as I know, that was used in. Tell us about the lab. Do you know?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
before that, I just want to bring home this comparison with what the Barbados Labour Party is using today, which is measurements, economic macro measurements, to claim that the economy is doing good, but the people are not feeling it. So the
Yes.
angst is still there, and that's why that 60% is growing. That 60% of Barbadians who see no difference between the two is growing, because whereas under the Democratic Labour Party, they were doing things at the macro level, building out the economy at the macro level, and they was hurt at the micro level. And the Barbados Labour Party is using economic measurements, nothing that we can really see, economic measurements at the macro level, and people are still suffering at the micro level. So yeah,
Correct.
with regards to the best Dos Santos, I think is the right pronunciation. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
one of many things that the Democratic Labour Party did during the 2008. I mean, what lost decade are they talking about?
I
This
mean, that lab.
has
Let's
always
let's
been.
be clear about that lab. That lab was used, was ready, and was used in the pandemic, and they never gave any credit. And they're trying to tell this man, they're trying to tell this man he can't speak. It was under his tenure that the lab was created. We have drunk, a lot of people, even in the DLP, sir, have
Mhm.
drunk the Kool-Aid and trying to tell him, no, 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 stay in the back. Sir, open your mouth and speak. You hear, former PM, with all due respect. That's what we're trying to tell you. Speak, sir. But the lab, Adrian, was used in the COVID
Yeah,
extensively.
I mean, you just Google it. It will show you the lab. It was established in 2018. Um, sorry, 2017, the laboratory named in honor of two esteemed Barbadian health professionals, Cecil Best, a senior laboratory technician, and Dr. Wilfred Dos Santos, a senior consultant pathologist. Their contributions significantly advanced laboratory services and medical diagnostics in Barbados. So yeah, I mean, the mere fact that they couldn't bring themselves and somehow in the narrative to mention that this happens demonstrate further that this whole thing about a lost decade was politically driven, politically motivated. And it's unfortunate, I keep saying it's unfortunate that there wasn't a ready brigade in the DLP to respond to this so that it doesn't catch a fire. But nevertheless, it is never too late to rise up and do what needs to be done. You would hear the commentary about Barbadians like to forecast and like to play prophet by making statements about what's going to occur in the future, and they're never correct, and they don't care that they're never correct, but they continue to do it. So, I mean, I grew up in Barbados where, if you had what was considered back then a terminal illness, you were considered dead, even though you were still living. The concept of fighting a terminal disease was foreign to Barbados, and it still seems to be foreign to a number of people that when something is wrong, they write you off. I came to this country and I hear people have cancer, and I was like, oh, they're going to die. But I hear people saying that, oh, they're fighting it. And then if they do die, you hear that they fought a good fight till the end. Or if they were successful in beating it back, you hear that they fought and won. So this whole idea about a party dying, even though it's still in existence, these fortune tellers, these future tellers, these prophets or wannabe prophets, right? It is up to the Democratic Labour Party as to whether they are going to survive or not. That this is nonsense about, but people saying that's what they would want. Let me put it that way. And
Yeah,
if
yeah,
they encourage you in their narrative, right, to accept that and then go away, then they won. And that's what, again, that's a cultural part of our Barbados. We like to say can't. We like to speak as if we know what the future holds when we all know they do not know, right? So
correct.
I think not only Stuart should continue to speak, but members of his former cabinet, should come up along with him and beat this back because it's not true. It was
But
politically.
but look at the screen here. Thank you, Dave.
And,
The best Dos Santos Public Health Lab receives international designation. So
mhm,
what it is, I mean, these people, you cannot listen to me, Barbados. You cannot listen to them. If you
yeah,
when you hear them say one thing, know that it's the other thing.
yeah,
If they're telling you that it's the last decade, it means that they do not want you to go back to look to see what the DLP has done. Look at my girl here.
yeah.
Look at her.
Yeah,
And
I don't,
again,
I
it's
don't
a
really want to see her,
bullying.
but yeah,
No,
but
no,
they
it's a
know
bullying. This is,
they want to hoodwink you. It's
yeah.
gaslighting. If you are reflecting on 2008 to 2018, you're likely to miss what's occurring today, right? But we all know, right? The question has been asked of many Barbadians and even BLP supporters. They cannot definitively defend the fact that life between 2008 and 2018 was better than life today in Barbados at
Say
the
that again, Mr. Hinds.
microeconomic
Say
level.
that.
They
Say
cannot
that again.
defend that life during 2008 to 2018 was better than it is today at the microeconomic level, in spite of what the governor of the central bank would say that he would drive around when he doesn't and see all these things. That doesn't mean anything. We know that people are hurting really, really, really bad, and they know that. You ask that question with confidence. Point out to you what makes you, if you do believe that life is better now, point out to me what at your individual level, your neighbor's individual level, your street, your community. What are you seeing today that is better than during 2008 to 2018? And tell me if it's true. Another thing I want to touch on as with regards to this whole idea that Barbadians don't want to see the last prime minister or his cabinet. That was bandied about for a long time. No,
Mm-hmm.
it is being pointed at him and him alone
Okay.
because if people pay attention, right? Michael Ashley was a member of the last cabinet. Eswick,
Uh-huh.
um, and they ran in the last elections and barely lost, right? Barely lost. So those two, and there might be others, have demonstrated that this whole idea of people not wanting to see them is a joke. It's not true. It has never been true. And I continue to say to the DLP, um, specifically those who have been members of Stuart's cabinet with regards to this nonsense about
Hold a
Barbados
minute.
not
Hold
wanting.
a minute. 1 second. They are reporting the show, folks. Thank you, Victorious Lady, for alerting me to that. And this is what they do because you see, we are touching what we're doing tonight. We are unraveling this thing, Adrian, that they have created.
What does this mean?
They
Reporting? What does that mean?
what they're doing it's what they're doing is they're messing with the algorithm. So they're reporting the page, and then what happens, the likes and the numbers start to drop on the page. So what you have to do, folks, is that you have to go back and
Mhm.
quickly do that for me. Quickly do that. Yes, I see the numbers changing now. Do it. Do
All
it,
right.
guys.
All
Do
right.
it. It's
Well, well,
important.
well,
You've got to fight them. You've got to
well.
fight them. They don't want us to speak about the prime minister, the former prime minister. Let me say, Adrian, give me a moment. Let me just speak to the former prime minister here, please. I know that I'm not in your league, but I just want to say something to you, sir. That the more they tell you that they don't want to see you, and the more they tell you that you're to keep quiet, is the more you're to be seen and open your mouth. It's their strategy. It is their strategy, sir. I'm hoping and praying that you came out this weekend and you spoke. We need to hear you. And to those of you in the DLP, do not buy that nonsense. Do
Yep.
not listen to David Ellis.
You,
Those
you 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 know
and
why
Peter Wickham.
they don't like Stuart. You know why they don't
Yes,
like
go
Stuart.
ahead, sir.
In the 2008 election, I still have all of those. I curated them. He was the only person I have heard speak in detail about the remnants of the planter class and how they have control of the Barbados Labour Party.
It's
And
true.
then when he became prime minister, he said easy access to Bay Street is now over. Because people forget the
Adrian,
vestry,
Adrian,
which was the
go
wait,
ahead.
hold on, the
I'll write
vestry
down my
which was the
thought.
domain of the planter class, when that was removed, they didn't go away. They then had access to Bay Street, to the Prime Minister's office. And from that time on, they have always had that access, right? That they can skip beyond their constituency representative and go straight to the seat of power. Remember this, I always tell people that the tentacles of that office, the power attributed to the office of the Prime Minister is so vast that the planter class and the elites and the shadows of various creeds and colors understands this, that once they have the right person in that office, that their access is secured. No, you have a prime minister that come and said that access to Bay Street is closed. Well, who he is, who he think he is. And that's why they are determined to destroy this man. And this is sad. We allow this same set of people to destroy uh, 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 um, um, Dr. Hilary Beckles when he came back from England and he saw an opportunity for the progression of the franchisement of Black people through the mutual insurance. And he caused people to rise up because at that time, right, every person had a single vote, every member. And of course, more Black Barbadians had votes than those who were running it and running it to their own benefit. But what Barbadians did, not fully understanding, right? They got against Hillary. So Hillary went away. I know this for a fact. The reason why Barbados isn't interested in being an enfranchisement, so I can take my leave because it makes sense fighting for people who want to fight. Don Blackman did the same thing, right? So there's a long list of people that understand that the enfranchisement of Barbadians is being held back because there are people who think that Barbados belong to them, who think that the economy and any input into the economy must trickle through them first before anything get to Barbadians, right? There are people who think like that and are being aided by this government. Remember what she said. This is a party that understand that you cannot right 10, 20, 30, or 40 years of wrong. Sorry, 300 years of wrong in 10, 20, or 30, 40 years, that it is a continuum. This is what this current prime minister said, right? And we are seeing it. Nothing has changed in terms of the status quo. Nothing has changed in terms of trickling down economics. You heard the governor of the central bank talking about macroeconomic measurements and successes trickling down to Barbadians. You heard that. They still practice this nonsense. And that's why generation after generation, you can go on the blocks in Barbados and see people who are 60 years old, 40, 50 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, has been captured by the block because there's nothing in Barbados to do because the economy and the enfranchisement of Black Barbadians is being held in check for handouts, $300. That's all you deserve, right? That's why they want to destroy it. And we are allowing them to destroy somebody who championed, who wanted to use the powers of that office to benefit a wider cross section of Barbadians. We are allowing these people to destroy that man. Just and he is not, he's not a Don Blackman, he's not a Hillary Beckles in terms of walking away from it, because Don Blackman did the same thing. Don Blackman, I mean, you know why Don Black bitch isn't interested in freeing himself from this nonsense, so he's gonna live in St. Kitts. That's what he did, right? And Hillary Beckles is in Jamaica today, and decide that, hey, look, if I can't fight them, I could as well join it because I'm one man, and Barbadians don't seem to be interested in supporting me, right? And that's what he did. But Stuart is staying his ground, and he should. And those who were in his cabinet should join with him, follow him, and speak on his behalf, and defend your record. Don't let these people make these statements about you and get away scot-free. Every time they say something with regards to lost decade, with regards to that, and they're speaking on behalf of Barbadians, that is not true. Don't let them get away with it. So I like what the Democratic Labour Party has done with this response that they give, but they need to do more. Fight fire with fire.
Fire.
Like, these people did this is all Trumpian political strategy, right? The MAGA crowd in America getting said that they had 8 terrible years under Obama. And what did the Democrats do? The Democrats list off all the successes that Obama did. And we need the same thing that's happened this last decade. We need to list off, the Democratic Labor Party need to list off all the things they did. And don't be afraid to go among Barbadians and hear Barbadians. Some of them want to hear you, but still say what you got to say. Don't get angry with Barbadians. Those are the same people that you need to help change away from this remnants of the plantocracy that has complete access to Bay Street today. You need them. Otherwise, if we join in and cast, Mom, what a stupid, I want to know what to talk. No, that you don't need that. Listen to them, right? They believe that they have an angst. I understand it. Life in 2008 at the microeconomic level, right, could have been better. That's what Barbadians were saying. They wanted better, and they believed that the Barbados Labour Party had the answers. Well, we know that they didn't. We now know that they didn't, right? So I don't fault them for thinking that, hey, look, better can be had, and therefore we need to see what this other party, me and her group, will do, and that's why they give into giving her the vote and watching her, and they see, no, they see, right? So don't fault them for that. Don't fault them for that. But when these people start to disparage your term in office, recite all the things you did. Don't get angry with them. They're just doing what they're being paid to do, right? Don't get angry with them. Just recite what you have done and tell them, I hear you. I understand what you're saying. But then ask them, is life better under this government?
I mean, how could it be? They went to the IMF. Life under IMF austerity measures could be ever good? Of course not. Of course not. And that's what Stewart was attempting to do, because he understand once you go to the IMF, it is extremely hard to get out of it. It is extremely hard, and they need to do this because the next thing they're going to do, is pin any fallout. Because I think they got to go back to the IMF. I think so, and I don't know how long we can continue to peg our currency to the US. I don't know how long, right? And they might very well try to pin that on the DLP. That's why you have to
Yeah.
speak up. You have to speak up. Stuart, don't let them tell you the nonsense. And I want Adrian Braffett, Mr. Jones, all of the existing members of that cabinet who are still alive and who are still aligned with the Democratic Labour Party to join with the man
Mhm.
and defend your record. Defend your record. Don't look. Somebody asked me the other day if I know see somebody brought up Don Vallis. Somebody asked me the other day if I think Don Vallis should run again. I'm like, what has he done in Barbados that would stop him from running? I'm sure he would do his due diligence to see if he still has the recognition and name brand in that constituency to see how viable his option would be. I think he still has name brand given the negative response that Barbadians had to what the U.S. did to him. Right? A lot of people were not in line with what the U.S. did. Right? So I don't think that will factor to them, because the truth is what he was what was alleged that he did that contravenes American law is done every day in Barbados.
Yeah.
Done every
But
day at
you
election
know,
times in
you know,
Barbados.
somebody said something here. I was just so caught up in what you're saying. You were on fire, Mr. Hinds. But this comment on here, and I want to say something to you. What you touch on something. You had made my belly stirring up, man. You said this is what the issue is with Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen to me, folks. I know of a fact that a lot of the white merchant class in this country did not like Stuart. Did not like Stuart, and it is because he would not. I heard of many occasions he refused. He refused to be wined and dined by them. That is a
Yes,
man of integrity.
he said
Mr.
it. I
Stewart,
have that curated where he said that Bear Street is no close to these people. He said it, and that pissed off a lot of people. Look, Stewart had, I believe, a good case to invoke the Barbados Public Order Act against a certain individual who claimed that he's going to shut down Barbados if he don't get his way. And Stewart made that statement that he believes that this is a threat against the good order and governance of Barbados, and that he is thinking about invoking the Public Order Act, but he did not. What he did was he had a public sit down, insisted that CBC broadcast the entire sitting, right? In the conversations that he was going to have with this individual who I believe is remnants, identifies, as far as I'm concerned, as remnants of the planter class. He made that threat, and got away with it, right? And these people need to understand these things, that when you keep asking for somebody to rise up and defend the interests of Barbadians. And when people do, you shut them down. Hillary Beckles, Dr. Don Blackman, you shut them down. And then where's the encouragement for a next Hillary Beckles or Don Blackman or Mr. Stewart to rise up and do what you want in your interests, right? Where's the benefit? That's why we have to keep saying nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you because nobody's interested. People look, and because like for instance for me, if somebody was not that I am at that level, not interested anyway, but
mhm,
if somebody would say, well, you don't return home in XYZ, well, the first thing I can do is look and say, wait, there will have people before me that try this.
yeah.
Somebody had to try this before. So when I look at the history of people who tried it before and what the response was and the outcome, I'd be like, hell no, I can't do that because the people calling for it, but when you start, they may want you. So
But
what's the
but but
point?
but listen, Mister. The one of the things that you said, and you kind of glossed over it really
Mm,
quickly, but it's look at those that were in the DLP. okay, that she has kept close to her. Look at Chris Sinclair,
Yes,
who
yes.
was the Minister of Finance. He is the one that should have been thrown under the bus. Folks, listen. He
That
should
that
have been the one, what second
for
them is, that should have been thrown under the bus and the bus run over him and mince him up. But no,
for
she just kept him close to her. And
further
he's so
proof that this was
advising
all
her.
political. Yeah, for further proof that this whole thing about lost decade was all political. I remember, again, I have to search for this. The last sitting of of uh, of Parliament in that conference room at that hotel somewhere up in Christchurch, she got up. She got up and because that was around the time that Sinclair got the job from her or whatever. She had some input in some job that he got with the IMF or something like that, whatever it is. Um, and there was some cry out in the Barbados Labour Party, because people truly, well, her sycophants and supporters believed the political narrative that this man did something injurious to Barbados. So all of a sudden she is singing him praise, and she got up to defend it by saying, all that they had to do was to restructure the debt. That's all they had to do. So this whole thing about lost decade is nonsense, because if that's all they had to do, the argument that Stuart was using all along during the election was he was doing this to attempt not going to the IMF,
Listen,
which is a
listen,
good thing. Which
listen,
is a good
listen.
thing.
I just got a message here. Somebody said that there was a certain businessman sent an envelope to Stuart, and Stuart returned it to say return to sender, wrong address. That
Yes,
is the
I
level of
believe it.
integrity,
That's
and not
that's
one of them can point
yeah,
a finger
saying nothing
at
about him.
Mr. Stewart. Don't
Right,
you ever mess with him. Not one of you can
right.
point and say
So
he
so
stole this and he stole that. So why should he be quiet? Why should he be quiet? Is it all a part of that Miss Piggy? This is Miss Piggy Rain, and she believe that she can hold everybody hostage and they mustn't speak. But Mr. Stewart, wherever you are, if you listen to this, I don't know, or whenever or later, I say open your mouth and speak out. Raise your voice in here like a trumpet. You are a son of the soil, and nobody's gonna have you lock up in a house anywhere. Open your mouth and speak out.
yes, defend your tenure as prime minister. I personally believe you did nothing wrong. You attempted to save Barbadians from being under the IMF, and I thought that was a good approach rather than going to them. And of course, they would want you to do otherwise. And it is clear that is nothing to belie a man with this nonsense about lost decade, all because you want to have a political narrative to keep people hoodwinked from looking at your tenure, your 7 years. That's what you're doing. You're ready to destroy this man for doing nothing more than trying to protect Barbadians. You know, but yeah, people need to get strong and stop. I don't know what. I think it's easy for people to say, well, you up here, you don't live in Barbados no more, so you could talk where you feel like, and maybe that's part of it too. I don't know, but I personally believe, knowing me, that yeah, I would not be any different. I probably would suffer as a result of my mouth. I have suffered in Barbados because of my mouth, but that's who I am.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna change. And I think Barbadians have to weigh where they are as a result of their silence and their stiff upper lip, right? With where they could be if they demand better, right, from their government, and stop looking up to their government, right? And hold them to account, which is necessary. Government will always have a narrative that makes their existence necessary. But you all have to remember that there are human beings just like you and me. And to some degree, all of us have a level of, of greed, a level of selfishness. That's what we are as human beings, right? And if we don't have the education and the understanding to ignore those innate attributes, to realize the betterment that we can have if we help our fellow man, right? Then you will see this kind of thing, right? Where government is there pretending to work on your behalf, giving you $300, while they're flying all over the place and spending tons of money and drinking Moet Chandon and all these other expensive things on your dime, right? And telling you that $300 is good for you and nothing more. You deserve better, Barbadians. I believe strongly that you know that you deserve better, but you can't get change if you don't give your 2 cents.
Yes.
Nobody is going to do right by you if you don't opium up. We've had to do this in Boston in the predominantly black communities not getting any services, and the predominantly non-black communities getting all. And people saying, "Oh, it's racist." I said, "No." The people in them communities know that they got to hold those councilmen to account. You need to stand up and do the same, because if when they're ready for election, they know where to go and get their votes. You don't vote. You aren't part of the political process, so why are they going to come to you? Right?
One more
I can
minute.
bring it home. I can bring it home now,
Bring it
right?
home now, my
So for
brother.
the average guy out there that doing freighting, he's a well digger, doing construction or landscaping, who ain't interested in reading anything. He ain't got no time to listen to the radio or anything, 'cause they're hustling to get a dollar, right? Um, is it fair that he could still use his awareness when he goes into the supermarket, seeing how high prices are, and then ask questions about that with regards to why that is, why his pocket is so limited and these things are so expensive, that he can then form from that awareness, realize that there are political decisions that is causing this. Because remember, these people have votes just like you and I. We
Yeah.
inform ourselves, right? We understand, but not everybody is interested in doing that, right? So what are the other avenues that these folks that have a vote can use to bring some level of awareness that they need to be seen as the center of life in Barbados, and that they should be benefiting from the economic fortunes of Barbados? What can they do? Awareness, agreed, right? And some of the ways that they can build up that awareness to realize that they deserve better, and that better legislation need to come from the politicians that they put into office to do much more at the local level for them.